Hello again. See this? And this? That just goes to demonstrate that the holiday we remember as Halloween is no longer available. What about this? And this? Just more evidence to us of a certain generation that it's not our Halloween anymore. But good thing you've got this channel and me, so you can stop by anytime to get your fill of how it once was, when we lived our life to the fullest, when everything worth anything was made. That includes the best Halloween ever, which may be a little harder to find today, but believe me, it'll always be around. I'm Victor, and straight out of the Gen Experience, Halloween in an alternate universe. A universe of frightful fun, spooky excitement, eerie anticipation, and sweet payoff. Things rare today. A Halloween filled with handmade memories that last a lifetime. Halloween from the Gen Experience. Let's go. It was October when our parents finally let us bring the Halloween stuff from the basement or the attic to decorate. September was spent concentrating on back to school, the start of fall, and selling raffle tickets to the Sausage Fest. Oh wait, maybe that was just my school. Hanging decorations was a tradition for the month of October and a team effort. The options always seemed to be familiar. Stuff from the past, recycled year after year until they had too much mileage on them to go on. No one had time to think about Halloween before October. A month was plenty, and while the weather changed, we might start talking about what we were going to trick-or-treat as. But there was nothing yet in the stores to buy or inspire you while window shopping. TV hadn't started airing Halloween ads, but you slowly began to anticipate the first of the month like any kid. Because when it hit hard and fast. Decorations would appear suddenly in every drugstore. They didn't go much beyond a vacuum form wall hanging, window clings, or die-cut paper hanging pieces. You know, the articulated witch or the ever-present skeleton. There wasn't a lot to choose from, and it wasn't out long. But we didn't need much, so it was enough. The same can't be said of today. When you're behind the 8 ball, if you wait to do your Halloweening in October, there's nothing left, even with the ever-increasing overproduction of Halloween. The sheer magnitude of items manufactured is staggering, and yet the struggle to find things is real, because it's already been picked clean over by the time the first fall school bell rings. We never had to stock up at the end of August for the spooky season ahead. The candy companies weren't getting any more money out of us than they already were. We didn't fall for the buy it early, eat it now, replenish immediately vicious cycle that they hope you get caught in today. Halloween? It was October, and like most holidays, relegated to a specific time period that fits snugly between back to school and Thanksgiving, with an annual cadence that was the perfect amount of time and never messed with. Until now. Monster cereal comes out the 1st of September, but by Halloween week, they're nowhere to be seen. Well, maybe a box of Count Chocula, but yuck. The holidays have always been commercial. It's part of the fun. Marketing builds excitement, but can also breed fatigue. The modern need to pre-Halloween not only causes unnecessary FOMO, but it's exhausting. We got giddy hanging up the same decorations year after year, unless they couldn't survive one more strip of tape, or the dog-eared and torn corners made it no longer feasible. It was then you might add a new piece to your Halloween arsenal. And when you did, you can rest assured it was going to be spooky. Spooky was a given. We kids weren't in the market for a cute witch with an adorable cat around a cauldron. Since the first time we could think about Halloween, we imagined eerie, ghoulish, and just this side of gory when it came to decorating. And everything else. Halloween is synonymous with creepy. Or at least it once was. It was always about the fun that seemed a bit dangerous. This kind of stuff only popped up once a year, and we were there for it, no matter our age, no matter how spooky. This PG-rated Halloween we were raised with was a rite of passage. We both envied and were in awe of the neighbor who could create an entire graveyard or morgue in their front yard, and we counted the days until we had to trek to their door for the goods. We'd point and shout, "Halloween house," whenever driving through our neighborhood and saw somebody else putting up the traditional and welcome decor of the season. Most often, it would include a handful of pumpkins bundled on the porch, cotton-stretched cobwebs on the overhang, and the almost required die-cut Halloween paper decorations people taped or hung up in windows or on their doors. And most had one thing in common: they were eerie. Now, rarely downright horrifying with blood and guts, the imagery of decrepit mansions, unnerving witches with suspicious smirks, or bloodthirsty vampires and jack-o'-lanterns with wry smiles was just enough tongue-in-cheek darkness to both thrill and terrify us. We honestly could be scared of our own decorations, but we knew braving the holiday made us stronger. So we said, bring it. The spooky-centric vibe of table centerpieces, fold-out honeycombs, or three-dimensional haunted house decor with a touch of the macabre was the option of choice. Now don't get your cobwebs all twisted. Of course there was some adorable decor, but it was the minority, and Hallmark had a corner on that market. But everyone knew you didn't want to be caught dead with all that cute shit. This time of year, we welcomed the creep factor, the supernatural, the celebration of all things dead, the undead, or the living dead, whatever works for you. It never really crossed the line, but introduced even the youngest kid to what lurked in the shadows, the dark and slightly unsettling sense of Halloween. When it wasn't downright haunting, it was a wink and a nod to the supernatural spirit of the season. We might like our decorations leaning towards the light, but rarely cute. It's hard to believe that there is a concerted effort today to spare our young people the thrill of the first taste of mystery by covering Halloween with charming vampires and bashful mummies, cute ghosts who frolic with dim-witted Frankenstein monsters near a resin centerpiece of a skeleton Elvis or Marilyn Monroe. And where the heck are all those spooky sounds and Night in a Haunted House soundtracks, huh? I just read an article where people were begging others to stop the trend of frightening displays of ghoulish zombies and the undead in their front yard so that kids didn't have to navigate through it. What do you mean trend? That is the actual nature of Halloween. And although a pendulum shift is expected, it doesn't need to go clean to the other side. It's the root of the whole shebang, and it's exactly what we went through, and we liked it. Children were allowed to entertain their curiosity with tense situations and images and see how we responded. We didn't play it down for the youngest, but invited them to join in on the
most fun you'll ever have being scared.
With such an early start to the holiday in modern times, it would stand to reason there is no excuse to not participate. Once participation was not even questioned, you couldn't imagine but a very small handful of people less enthusiastic about taking part of these family rituals. The majority of our neighborhood decorated for Halloween, even if it was just the menacing grimace of a jack-o'-lantern or a scarecrow on the steps. Decorating allowed us a shared experience and non-verbally invited us to gather as a community, something few make the effort to do today. There are thousands of new fall and Halloween-themed decorations at specialty stores everywhere during this time of year. Literally endless options to choose from. And yet, what once were minor and temporary additions you hung up to be shared by those outside of your house looking in are now carefully coordinated aesthetics to match your current interior design, with little thought to those viewing from the street. Besides a couple of pieces, Halloween in the Gen experience barely infiltrated the interior. We didn't decorate to showcase Halloween in millennial gray or Gen Z beige, or whatever was popular at the time. We decorated for both the family and for the families we'd welcome on October 31st without considering how it matched our home's design. Let's be frank, it didn't. The overconsumption of modern Halloween might have you mistakenly believe that people are going whole hog on their displays and setting up complete atmospheres for those dropping by Halloween night. The whole thing only exists for clout. God forbid your enthusiasm be enjoyed by the neighbors, or worse, give them the idea that they can come knocking on your door during the big event. Oh no, they don't plan to be home anyway. Participation wasn't just about your neighbors. Every local business got into the act, and you could always count on fast food locations to go big. McDonald's, Wendy's, and Burger King would always be a hit with their decorated dining rooms and bold painted windows. Of course, it was going to help market a kids' meal Halloween tie-in promotion, like Some of the Best Ever. Remember these? But the involvement of businesses and establishments actually built relationships with customers too. Halloween decorations were ubiquitous with the time of the year. This not only steeped anticipation in the holiday, but left you in a good mood. Look around. Times have changed. The businesses you frequent have mostly foregone any hint of Halloween. Relationship building has been replaced with the fear of offending the few. And why should fast food even bother? They don't want you in their dining room anyway. So limited to no participation is simply safer and now sadly the norm. It's true, there was little thought to those who might not celebrate Halloween. There were the misguided few raised to believe it was all somehow evil or that celebrating was blasphemous. Some of it was part of the era's satanic panic, but all of it was just hooey. My Catholic school even put on Halloween parties in the 70s and 80s. Those who scoffed at the merrymaking were just poo-pooed by the majority. Schools and teachers, just like businesses, expected everyone to simply enjoy the annual celebration and be part of the family fun. In school, the week of Halloween meant you'd be designing your own jack-o'-lantern to staple up on the bulletin board. Our teachers would get into the act by dressing up, and lots of candy found its way into the classroom at the time. The rooms were all decked out in fall colors of orange, brown, and yellow, but we knew that at some point a costume parade or contest would be organized, and if you were lucky, a little Halloween haunt in a classroom or the gym. We might come to school already decked out or change during the day to show off our imaginative creation that we worked hard to plan and execute.
He can't bend his knees.
With the world changing drastically, efforts have been made to be more inclusive, and that's a positive move. But the generic fall festival that replaced Halloween parties have all but castrated the mischief in a way we couldn't imagine. Although coming in costume might be encouraged to these events, similar to the overdose of cutesy decor pushed onto consumers, scary costumes are often forbidden, effectively ruining what made the season so exciting in the first place, the fun of fright. We weren't celebrating autumn back then. We weren't the Druids. We just wanted to have some fun being scared and spend time with our parents, being spooky. But then again, it's not our Halloween anymore. As kids, we began to dream and plan a costume by the very end of September. Just a rough draft, really, but we were on our way to the best costume yet, one that would put our friends' costumes to shame. We all leaned into the creepy side, from vampires to vagabonds. Back when bums were scary, I guess. Maybe it was werewolves or witches. The custom was go scary or go home. Now, of course, there was the princess, the superhero, Barbie, the soldier, and not to mention pirates, ninjas, and before long, Darth Vader and a number of Jawas. Guilty. Of course, pop culture costumes would begin to become more rampant, but outside of the Ben Cooper kid costumes with the uncomfortable plastic masks and the greenhouse smock depicting the Bionic Woman or Chachi from Happy Days, the one thing we almost all had in common was whatever we were going to trick-or-treat as was homemade. Whether a McCall's pattern was used for your mother to sew together, or discarded jackets, shirts, and dresses, along with robes and towels, we had what was necessary for the perfect costume. As for our faces, detailed latex masks had been around for a while. Vision was difficult in these things, and that pool of sweat that collected at the bottom was more vile than you can imagine. These things were often terrifying and expensive, and usually found on older teen boys. But even they didn't come complete. Stores didn't provide full costumes like they do today. There were no racks of the same popular characters from head to toe, including accessories. You had to build them. I made my Rubik's Cube costume in 5th grade, and it looked damn good from a square cardboard box and colored butcher paper. Most kids were proud of their creation, happy to be part of it. It was their dream, and the planning and the execution gave us a sense of ownership to the holiday tradition. We put work into Halloween. When we grew out of the little kid masks, we moved on to makeup, something very taboo at the time for boys, except on Halloween. Costumes weren't chosen by parents to be on trend or to complete a family costume without even the kids' input. And moms weren't about to swing by and snag an entire off-the-rack costume of a pup from Paw Patrol or the newest superhero from Countless Options. Nobody had time for that. They expected you to do the legwork, and we happily obliged. Our costumes were hand-me-down pieces, temporary overlays connected with pins and duct tape meant to throw away, made from discarded items and costing almost nothing. You can't say the same today with store-bought choices. Well, except that they're as cheaply made as ours from the Gen Experience, but they're 3 times as expensive. I know there's a lot more pressure now, usually from the ever-present rot that is social media scrolling. But there's nothing wrong with using pajamas or a robe or a glued-together accessory. This isn't cosplay. You just have to commit. Devils and skeletons were just as popular as G.I. Joe or even a terrorist, going door to door with ballerinas, fairies, and even various athletes. Whether in your own version of a classic monster or a new celluloid sickie, we wanted to be in costume. And our parents helping us see our vision through made the whole experience worthwhile. Making costumes was as much part of the fun as ringing a doorbell then screaming trick or treat for your reward. Unfortunately, that's another tradition that's endangered in the days of trunk or treat. When the big 3 networks began advertising for the Halloween lineup, you knew Halloween had arrived. Would it be the Halloween-themed episode of Different Strokes, Silver Spoons, Facts of Life, or even The Fall Guy? Would the Bugs Bunny Halloween special return? We couldn't miss that one-time airing of It's the Great Pumpkin, Charlie Brown. That annual favorite was a memorable and shared experience with everyone in the family in front of the TV. Halloween meant slasher movie trailers and spooky season beer commercials that made counting down to the main event even more fun. We loved the commercials, movie trailers, and even the news stories regarding this year's satanic panic protesters. But it was the countless candy commercials that got our hearts racing, not to mention ads for local haunted houses at the civic centers, community churches, or by the women's club, leading to trick-or-treat night. Until then, we were entertained by an endless parade of TV show episodes with a Halloween twist. You could always count on Wonderful World of Disney giving us their Halloween treat one Sunday night before All Hallows Eve. We couldn't imagine a world without Halloween specials or Halloween-themed episodes, but here we are. Where's the Halloween episode of Chicago Fire? I mean, where are sitcoms in general, right? And Halloween, it doesn't even seem to exist in any of our streaming favorites. Not even commercials, well, besides 5-second spots between these videos. If fast food is doing kids' meal holiday-themed toys, you'd never know, unless, of course, you follow them on social media. But who does that? Just another example of how our Halloween has been ruined in so many ways. The old triggers for Halloween anticipation are so diluted, you wonder if kids today will shape any real Halloween memories that differ from any other day of their life. I remember almost every kid had a pocket knife on hand, so expecting your 7- and 8-year-old to carve a pumpkin was just part of the experience. Although I'm positive there were some missing fingers while growing up in my generation, a hospital visit made a great Halloween story. Now, there was adult supervision, let's not be silly. There we were with a blade, newspaper, some guidance, and a little creativity. Voila! The spookiest pumpkin face even the Headless Horseman would want to make his own. All right, it was never perfect the first time, but like our costumes, we took pride in what we made, and it would look better with a candle in it. We used real candles to light them, with real matches. Placed inside the gutted pumpkin, they lit the way for candy-seeking kids. Carving a jack-o'-lantern is a time-honored tradition. We knew there were those who might forego carving for painting the outside of a pumpkin. But that was rare, and we would be ashamed to do it. Understanding that there's also some hot climates where rotting vegetables or fruit or whatever a pumpkin is not always pleasant. Waiting to carve can be a necessity. I live in Florida. We carve our jack-o'-lanterns the day before Halloween, only taking them outside on Halloween night. Painting a pumpkin face has been around for some time and shows some spirited involvement, so there's that. But we see more and more of this eclipsing the Halloween staple, which is sad. The carving, scooping, and creating a vicious visage is a missed opportunity for kids and their parents to do together today. And let's be real, coloring facial features onto the orange rind doesn't have the same effect as the glorious and wicked flickering of amber light leaking from various size openings of the devilish grimace on your homemade jack-o'-lantern. At least if you're gonna paint, or even dare I say it, Mr. Potato Head your pumpkin, at least try to give it a little mischievousness. Stop with the clown faces. Speaking of clowns, trick-or-treating has become a circus. I mean, unless trunk-or-treating is tailgating for the actual main event and not a replacement, why not just take your kids out to the real-world experience where they actually have to work for those cavities? Help them actually walk up, knock on a door, ring the bell, and say the magic words. Although it does seem that these are no longer required to get the sweet reward. It's like the kids don't have to work at all. It's just handed to them. A costume, the candy. God, I hate bazooka gum. Go with your kids and let them be part of the bigger picture. And if they're old enough, hang back. Let them go with friends or older siblings, although that's rare too today. These memories will benefit you all. All right, so let's not get me started on trick-or-treating. That'll be a subject of an upcoming show all its own. The Gen Experience was even full of adults living Halloween to the fullest, having spirited parties, complete with sexy costumes. Just maybe not the modern cheap horror Freddy Krueger or slutty Chucky. The things that bubbled kids' excitement level for the holiday and the Gen Experience have been replaced with boxes checked by parents who disregard what their own children want. They provide forced fun, purifying the fear factor, carefully curating media posts devoid of any real seasonal spirit, and that could be argued as simply evolution. People are going to scream and yell, hey, that's just our Halloween. Change is inevitable. And you're probably right. But just because something can change doesn't mean it should. Look at all this stuff you're missing. Now, give me a treat by clicking like, even if you didn't. Press subscribe and maybe I'll do a trick next time. No, not that kind of trick. Thanks for being here. There's plenty more Halloween fun in store. So until next time.